intensified in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region so that we can have more revenue generation, job generation to help the Bangsamoro constituents. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about us working in the government, but it's all about the Bangsamoro people.
Very well, thank you so much, sir. So, having said that, sir, allow me to ask a question. Like, how do you envision? Because we're talking about this is actually the second year. Actually, the second year that we are having this multi-state older foreign markets on economic zone. So, how do you see the economic zone here in the Bangsamoro?
Well, perhaps being part in some of the activity with BESA. I can see two potentials of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region with the BESA. Intensify this operation, institutionalize. Why? Because we have the raw materials in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region that's perhaps compared to others that they don't have. I believe that with this economic zone, we are far more be recognized in the future compared to other regions in the entire nation.
Oh yeah, very well said. The raw materials. Now I'd like to ask the BESA, because since we are able to distinguish the raw materials, it's very important. In fact, we have a vast, rich raw materials in the Bangsamoro. I would like to ask anyone that's having a BESA, how do we sustain these raw materials? And these raw materials, where can it go? BESA?
Hello. In sustaining the raw materials, considering that majority not all are crops, so we have to go back to its source. So the growers, together with the landowners, and then even access to fertilizers, and that the same goes through with the logistics in bringing this what you need for the production. So we begin from there in sustaining it. And then the moment that this ratio where these raw materials are now being used, the moment that magkakaroon ka ng first export mo, there where you will see the fruits of your labor, so to speak. Then this will add motivation to even other landowners where hindi sila natatanim ng mga gano'n na crops. They will be, oh, may market tayo, may ready market. So that will also even strengthen the competition with regard to price. Because if you will source it here, and then you will also be using it here. So you will be more attractive to the buyers within the region.
I'm very interested about this. But before that, of course, in order to have that, we request once again, we forgot to have the Bureau of Customs, the Laili Indo, the Sub-Port Collector of Para, who would like to invite us to be on stage. Sir, I believe that you are the right person to answer all of the raw materials and all of the transport, import and export issues, sir. Alright, so let's go to I heard the word sustainability. Manuel, is BARM have this what we call sustainable development mechanism? Because we already identified tourism, raw materials, production, as what the BESA said. Do we have enough mechanism, sustainable mechanism, in order to keep all of those raw materials?
Aircon dapat din, nanik aircon. Dapat din nanik aircon.
So as of now, the Bangsamoro National Government is already adopting the Bangsamoro Sustainable Development Framework. So it's already in the works, and they are crafting an enabling policy or guidelines so that all the development in the region will be sustainable. So I think it's something to look forward to. They are already crafting it with the help of the NEDA and other agencies. They have an intergovernmental board. They call it
for the Bangsamoro
Ay,
Sustainable
napapasok siyang press ko.
Development. And they are already in their core meeting as of now. Starting
Siya ka ba na
the
lang?
Sustainable Development Framework. So, it's something to look about in the future.
Hindi siya
That is very
pan-press ko.
interesting,
Pero
and when we feel now the gravity of, alhamdulillah, we feel comfortable now knowing that there is actually a sustainable plan with all these raw materials, right? We don't need to import anything from others because we have our own. Now, going back to the framework that you're saying, I would like to ask you to how is the interconnection or vertical alignment of what BESA, because basically you are able to grasp maybe of course the reason behind we're having this summit, and of course try to review it with like the vertical alignment of the BESA in the national for the BESA.
Pinag-price ko parang open forum daw.
And I think BESA also has a yes, right?
Na, yun si Magpano. Ngayon. Yun.
In terms of vertical alignment of BESA, in the second Bangsamoro development, as I mentioned, is kailangan yung macro targets can connect. We have the indices, the GRDP, the gross domestic regional product, kasi yun yung mga indices natin na nagsasabi if we are progressing or we are still lag behind. No? Yung GRDP, what are those GRDP? Agriculture, the fisheries, and the forestry sectors. Which is the BESA has the opportunity, as mentioned, as a venue for the economic zones to process, to manufacture, and to have this logistics. No? Yung data. Kasi DFF should have a value added, mas magkaroon na mataas yung ibigay ng
Tapos kanina nakapinsa.
Pangalawa,
Yung sa mga tanggilan to?
How many jobs based on the experience of the BESA? BESA, how many jobs are employed because there's a multiplier effect.
Picture lang pa si Mara.
No, there's a study. If there's one ecozone, around 6 jobs were created. So, with that indices, in that alignment, if we have to strengthen and intensify our investment, we are contributing to that two indices. So, indices pa lang yung sinasabi ko in terms of the macroeconomic targets. The GRDP, because we have a value addition in the sectors of the EFL. But we still have the services. We're working with industrial parks, IT parks, and other utilities as a service business, and as well as the third sectors of the GRDP, manufacturing or the industry, where exos can provide in the GRDP opportunity. And of course, the poverty incidence, because there's already a social inclusion, there's also a community empowerment that improves livelihood, that later on it will contribute to the household level income that somehow reduce poverty incidence. I think for this microphone that we have shared, ay malaki po ang may tulong ng BESA or ng economic zones in achieving progressive, empowered, and resilient
Actually, I was actually overwhelmed with your presentation earlier about the strong contribution of the BESA economic zone when it comes to underemployment, unemployment, poverty line, and all of those inflation rates, all of those stuff. And we're happy that through the indices and presentation that we have, we are doing the right way. We're going on the right track. Thank you so much. Now, outside bar, I would like to ask this people outside bar, what do you think are the different problems? What do you think are the challenges that we encounter, that we see in the bar? That you think, this should be addressed. These are the problems that we need to address and make some access to all of that integral and intergovernmental approaches. So, do you see any problem, bottlenecks that we think we keep on facing over again, that now we can reveal, and of course through
Actually, research of your question. Looking at investment planning is really constant context. The region primarily goes around modernizing operation, streamlining procedures, and creating a transparent, predictable, and cooperative business environment. So when you say about trade facilitation and simplified procedures, you reduce the simplify standard cost of procedures. Then another one is a modern legal and regulatory framework. And we have information and implementation technology, and trade facilitation and simplified procedures, modern legal and regulatory frameworks, transparency and predictability, which is a few well-documented and consistent application. Then we have coordinated border management, which is collaboration among all borders management agencies and other tax authorities and the private sector to ensure the holistic integration of the data. Then we have the human capital and capacity building, a well-trained and motivated personnel with necessary critical expertise, which contribute to the efficient solutions and effective compliance. Then we have the political stability and government policies. As a stable political environment and a welcoming attitude towards investment, is supported by consistent government policies. These are the fundamental conditions for attracting significant investment.
So you made mention about problems on, I think, digitalization. We are actually living now in Industrial 5.0. Before we are on the internet, we are on the Google, but now we are on the AI. And I think that could be one of the problems. You also made mention about political stability. You identify that. And other social issues that we need to address. Now, do you want to add from our answer? Anything that you think that bottleneck or challenges that we experience right now?
The most common problem that we get from business owners or investors is the problem on ease of doing business. So a lot of these investors want to invest in Philippines. They want to put their business here. They want to put their infrastructure, the manufacturing country. However, they are when they apply for business permits, the like, madami silang kailangan kunin. Madami silang kailangan namin. So, kanina, from PEZA, they presented yung one-stop shop, the non-stop shop. Yun, I very much agree na if you want to attract more investments, we have to implement yung mga ganong mechanisms. We have to implement similar mechanisms like that. Kasi yun na rin naman yung thrust ng policy ng administration ng government. Even in past administration. So last administration, we had the ease of doing business. Pinalakas yung ARPA. Now this is nagkaroon na rin ng ease of doing business act. Now nagkaroon naman ng ease of paying taxes. And again, under the Green Board, nagkaroon pa ng additional amendments to the tax code na papadaliin pa and mas streamline yung register ng isang investor dito. So we see we've gone around different or several ideas. At nakikita talaga namin na working na business mechanisms are those that have non-stop shops. Ito kanina, very, yung na-present ni Sir sa PEZA kanina. Kanina ko lang narinig yung non-stop shop yung 24/7 service na. Yun, very good na. Pwede adapt na ibang IPs lalo dito sa PEZA. So gusto kasi ng investors, if they want to come here, isa lang yung pupuntahan, just like in Singapore, isa lang yung pupuntahan mo, you pay this, you file this, pagkatapos na okay ka na, you can start your business. Ayun na yung punta ka dito, bukas dito, next week doon. So we have to maximize the use of the one-stop shop.
Thank you so much. Take note of the ease of doing business. When you go to a particular any office, the moment you transact, there should be a maximum time limit. Like, for example, if it's a matter of 5 minutes, all transaction must be done, right? Hindi yung pagpunta mo dito, ipapasa ka pa, tumulog doon, and at the same time, naubos yung isang araw mo, and pinapasa-pasa ka. That's actually the challenge in all of the government agencies. And you're right, in other countries, sometimes, we feel the insecurity from other countries, especially visiting other countries. Bakit ganun kabilis? In just a click of a second, they can transact all of those stuff. But how come in our country, maybe that could be the real work in progress. Work in progress. Yeah, we have that. How about I would like to ask the SPFA, our representative of SPFA. Having heard all of those challenges, what do you think are the potential solution or policy that we want to suggest, because we are actually being heard by these people here, our leaders here, and of course, these will have a discussion, we will have a report on this, and this will go to our parliament. So what do you think are the policies that you can suggest in order to address those problems or bottlenecks identified right now?
Okay, basically from what has been said, I have identified actually two important challenges that were mentioned. One is, of course, infrastructural gaps. Okay. Considering the young age of PESA, its existence, I think this is only its second year. Okay. Infrastructural gaps, meaning you have to start from the scratch. You have to build from the scratch. Let's say, if you're going to establish an economic zone, like let's take that case of Olyo. I do understand that from the start, Olyo had nothing to offer except the old port facilities. Now to attract investors, you have to build. Okay? You have something presented to your investors or your future locators. Like what they say, if there is an island and the island has a potential, and the only way to get there is to cross a river or a sea, you have to build the bridge. So, infrastructure. You could not ask everyone to come by rowing your boat. That would take time. So if you want fast action, you should address infrastructure gaps. So what do we have to do in order to address infrastructural gaps? We must have, or you must have, reliable power source. And also reliable source of water. And you must have a good transportation and telecommunication system or infrastructure. And another thing that we must hurdle, when there is an absence of infrastructural, when there is a presence of infrastructural gaps, the cost of logistics becomes higher. Because instead of going to a straight line, you go around, and that involves more cost. And another thing that was evident during the discussion when one question was asked was on institutional bureaucracy. Okay. Tama si attorney from our group, from FIRB. And also tama rin yung pointed out by our representative from PESA. There should be business process that works, and it must not only work, it must be swift, and it must be fast. On the part of SPLA, how are we addressing that? We've been existing for more than 30 years. 30 years na kami, but we're still in the process of improving our business process. Just recently, we made the policy, and the policy is still a work that is to be finished. We have reduced our requirements in order that our locators, when they register with us, we could register them at once and issue at once their business permit to operate. And the requirements that we used to require before, we have made them as after registration compliance. So we have reduced our regulatory requirements. Some are basic that must be there during the time of registration, and some are considered after registration requirements. So that makes things easy for our competitors. And finally, the Business and Investment Group of SBMA is transferring to its new building and office. We have now integrated in our building the one-stop shop for SBMA. And that addresses red tape. Yeah. We should reduce the red tape. And that's one thing that must be looked at by MESA. To encourage investment, reduce the red tape, make the process simple, and good idea yung sinabi ni attorney na if possible, wag lang natin gawin yung one-stop shop. There should be non-stop shop.
Very well, thank you so much. That's very approval. And I think there is actually one statement that we keep on hearing, like, I will cross the bridge when I get there. And how can we cross the bridge? We use the bridge, right? I think that is a very important stuff when we talk about infrastructure logistics gap. That's very important. And also, you made mention about, of course, engaging the business sectors also, as what you said. And of course, making difficult things easier and making easy things easiest, right? Because if there are a lot of requirements, you apply for IT, and then the IT required a lot of IT requirements. So how can you have the IT? Same goes with the business sectors, right? Now, I would like to ask the KPW, because you keep on mentioning, sir, about the infrastructure and logistic gap at KPW. So I would like to ask about how is the assessment of our infrastructure in the Bangsamoro, especially if you're talking about economic zone right now. How is it? How is the assessment and evaluation right now in the perspective of looking into farm as champions for economic zone? Sir.
Thank you. Actually, when we speak of the infrastructure, not only in the economic zone, there is no infrastructure. Within the economic zone, the employees in the economic zone. In the case of the pollute, of course, we are hearing the statement from the SBMA that we develop impact region. Of course, we accept the truth that the logistics in the oil port is not enough for the impact. We need infrastructure, logistic support at the warehouse, the processing. But in the part of the MPW, as the implementing arm of the bank, and we are also updated for the infrastructure, meaning the horizontal, we have no ability to do that. As what I said a while ago, the infrastructure project that support to the economic zone, meaning the roads leading to the economic zone must be one of the major factors. That's why on the part of the MPW, when we make an investment program for the road network, by the way, the first criteria in our selecting for the investment program in roads and bridges, first is the connectivity. That is our first criteria for connectivity. And the other, the main outcome of the infrastructure that the MPW is for the peace and development. Because we believe that roads make peace for the remote areas. The mechanism that the MPW made for the investment program, we are using the bottoms-up approach. Meaning all the investment program of the MPW emanates from the local government employees.
in relation with corresponding to their development plan in supporting to the regional development plan. So recently, we also conducted the midterm assessment for the infrastructure because as much as the MPW is also the chairman of the Infrastructure Development Committee, one of the committee of the Bangsamoro Economic Development Council. So the approach is bottoms up because no other priority project from the LGU that no, except the LGU itself. One example is the Matano. Recently I saw the Honorable Mayor. Matano before, there is the road the only road there is the Narciso Ramos. That is the only concrete road. There is no concrete road leading towards the main road. But during the time, until this part, we are on implementing concrete roads in the Matano area. So the Matano area is sufficient concrete roads there. That's why others also, the Maraya, the food court already implemented there, and all the roads towards the Matano project there of the SPM. So many roads that are concrete already. And one thing also in that areas, all the areas majority from the war zone to the economic zone. When we started the road project on the remote areas, the only mode of transportation is by horse. But now, go to Matano para Manila Auto. That's the mountainous area. Okay. Now there is no more horse. They are now using a vehicle. Transporting their products from the areas toward the urban, I think we say that urban areas because on the urban areas the market interest is in Para. But now with the roads and bridge project that we have implemented, the easement of the transportation of their boats are easy and the transportation time becomes shorter. And now we are implementing a connectivity road from the Irano areas to Milano as alternate to the Narciso Ramos. That's called the Barilla-Bukit Road. So on that road, it's a automotive and it's go to Cagayan. So as what I said, the main criteria in our road project is the connectivity. So and also we have also a good collaboration with the MAPON because the MAPON is implemented for the farm to market road. So I think the infrastructure support project that the MPW has implemented is already supported for the economic zone. Because once those projects have the good transportation, the economic zone, so the base of the economic zone will be sustainable. As what we heard this morning, that there is a plan for the economic zone for the Matano. So our project, the road project that we have implemented, I think is a major contribution to the economic zone.
Thank you so much. The term there is the connectivity. Yeah, you're right. When there is road, it actually symbolizes progress, development, and of course, peace, right? Like, it's a symbolism, right? When you cannot pass there, you can transport all your products from the road, and that symbolizes your development, progress, and of course, the progress that I can road. Thank you so much for that. Now, I would like to ask the PSA, what are the indicators for relevance now? Because we are so excited to know more. Like, how do we see as ordinary Bangsamoro nasa level? Like, the economic zone is actually doing well. What are the key indicators?
So, thank you for the question. let me make this, from that perspective, kanina sinasabi natin, that part of it is in raw materials. Okay, so put that in perspective, let me share something with you, no? Say for example, the barn, this is nationwide. So the barn is actually top producer of corn. We are third among regions. In terms of coffee, we are third, not only in the north, okay, but the entire country. No? In terms of rubber, we're third impact in terms of production. To be on production, we are second, actually after Davao. Davao is part is that company na pero titingnan natin sa production, we are second after Davao in terms of production. So, and also including yung mga industrial plants na kasama mga coconut, we are one of the top producers. Not only Mindanao, but nationwide. So speaking of raw materials, we are that rich. No? So we are not yet speaking about the cities, which the top producer, pertains to agriculture, industry, awit-awit. In terms of commercial fishing, leading the barbecue is Sulu. And then speaking of Kasinan, they top in terms of producing coconut and also in terms of rubber. When it comes to the two major provinces natin, in particular Lanao and Mindanao, so we are talking in terms of crop production, in terms of fruits and vegetables, in terms of CPR. So hindi tayo nahuli. So we are that rich in terms of raw material. But the problem is, we are exporting the provinces as raw material. So when we speak of exporting raw material, hindi tayo kumita. When we exporting this product, bababa. Kasi natin raw. So exporting of my mom, mas maganda na kung may value adding dito sa mga raw products dito, so that we can capture kung ano yung additional income, additional value adding dito sa mga natin. One way of doing that is invite investors, invite educators, manufacturers, para yung positive saving and advantage yung pagkakalaban from this product. Like for example, when you see this, we are number one producer. And yan sabi na yun, we are shipping that out as raw material or dry form and dry form. So, tinatapit lang without much value added. And we are shipping that out either to Wabra, cross-part as Cebu, or in manufacturing. So, imagine, ilalabas natin siya as Cebu. Manufacturing first natin siya. Maraming products from Cebu. Isa na doon is yung balot ng ating alcohol. Okay? We have industrial assistance of Cebu. So, i-out natin siya. Out sa ito, in form, walang may gagawin yung presyo. Mababa yung presyo, even yung Cebu's partner hindi natin yung ginagawa. And yet, finished product, yung import natin yung labas, mahal na. Eh, tapos ito yung actually ang mga materials na so, sino ang ginagawa? Because the cost is there, hindi sa atin. Okay? So, actually, that's the minimum advocacy standard for policy direction. When we do implementation of GRPP, because if we have located here, we can provide employment. And we have employment, so natin yung problema natin. We don't have skilled labor. We don't have professional labor. But the thing is, kasi nga wala silang makukuha magandang trabaho in the region or within the region, so tendency is inuman, may safe employment all over. Kasi natin ito wala sa atin. But if we have these locators dito sa atin, and they can use with knowledge nila, expertise nila, then imagine, they will themselves in some people, economic rights, okay, sa labor market natin, hindi nakalapas at hindi support, will be the local economy, okay, and ultimately, solving employment, solving poverty, and a lot of sources na currently, nakakaharap sa ano naman po, sir, no? The performance indicators. Nag-present kanina po, sir, no? According kulang ka na dito, is dito, of course, deployment to the no? So, ano yun ngayon, no? Of course, yung mag-teacher tayo, may dito tayo dito. And if you have a teacher, may revenues yan. No? So, in terms of revenue for teacher, revenue generated, kung meron mga foreign direct investments na pumunta at pumasok sa atin, that would be a good measure. No? Indicator. And of course, sinasabi natin yung economic goals. Yung pagtigil ng imports and exports. No? Imports and exports, it may be international or even regional lang. No? Yung exports. Kaya maganda tayo kaysa transactions or activities. So, isa sa ating performance indicators, pwede natin tignan kung meron tayong mga economic services. Of course, maganda na rin yung skills development and as well as hindi natin makalimutan yung impact, yung lalo ng in terms of sustainability, these operations, providing industries located in our area, and as well as yung tourism control and kasi yung industry, hindi talaga iwasan. Hindi man siya totally ma-give out, but little money, little money back out. Kung meron makikita sa ibabaw. So, yun po sir, pwede natin malikinan with regards to the performance indicators that we can mention.
Thank you so much, sir. So, I think two key ideas actually brought out actually for the revenue generation. And of course, the piece is still very important. There is no development when there is actually no peace, security, no business. Sir, Minda sir, how about in the Minda sir? How do you see the PEZA now? How do you see the economic zone in the Bangsamoro? How does Minda can facilitate PEZA in the particular objectives that are presented?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, gusto ko na magbigay ng data when it comes to private sector. The total contribution of the private sector when it comes to development is around 90 to 95%. 5% to 2% of the government. I'm emphasizing the role of the private sector for the overall development, not only in the ecozone, but also the entire economy. Pangalawang ang data, for the infrastructure gap, in particular, infrastructure gap is provided at least 65% of the infrastructure gap are provided by the private sector. So, ibig sabihin, kapuntinan part supposedly na ginagampanan ng national government. On the transportation naman, particularly in the Philippines, 20 to 30% of the cost ng isang product are dahil sa transportation and logistics. And that includes transportation and logistics, yung mga warehousing and accounting products. So having said that, ang tingin ko, the ecozone development environment right now with the BESA on the beat is heading towards the right direction. Indicators yun na nandun na tayo. It's just that may mga sub-element pa for me na nakikita natin na pwede pang i-maximize. And one is that, definited by the objective. Nakita natin yan, economic growth, driving growth, through shared vision. The first one is, ano ba yung vision? Then how to communicate that. Pag alam mo na yung vision na doon na yung how to communicate that, and you can bring everyone on the table. First level, far, wide, meaning wide. Maraming ginagawa, for instance, hindi na ako mag-mention ng agencies, but leading towards that vision. Because of, for example, Bureau of Investment, si private sector, si but hindi siya consolidated. In a way na yung direction natin unified towards direction. Second point, si GERSA, I think, mayroon siyang board of directors that comprises of the mainly PW, and same case sa side ng PESA, tinanong ko doon ng mga previous years, paano natin ma-maximize yung board so that yung direction ng PESA magagamit. For instance, infrastructure development, nandun sa PESA, nandun si PW, nandun si DOTR, so right there, you can convince the board that yung direction ng ecozone development, yung board as a representation of policy sector nandun. That's the regional level. Pagdating sa Mindanao level, ang ginagawa namin, we're trying to connect the regions to the potential investor. That's why kasama palagi si IPAR sa trade missions, sa ecozone missions, sa BPR activity, business to business. On top of that, the last point is, yung corridor namin na-mention namin for Mindanao, nakaangkla sa tatlong bakal. One is the livable and competitive urban cities. And that's in the case of Paris, Cotabato City. The second is the transport and trade facilitation. So nandun yung transport, kasi yung transport and trade facilitation, hierarchy itong development. Ibig sabihin, maganda yung transport mo, maganda yung business mo in place, at saka meron ng trade between Mindanao and countries. So meron ng BPR or export na ginagawa. And the third point is the ecozone development. So that alone, hindi naman nagiging excess. So hindi mag-excess si ecozone development by treating ecozone as one independent sector. But it's a product of multi-stakeholder, multi-agency, multi-players from private sector to NGO, to regional government, to national government, to development partners. The last point is, kailangan natin itap, and I know yun yung direction din ng BAR to tap the private sector through the PPP. And Minda is having mayroon na kami more with PPP Center kung nahabing that. And eventually magkakaroon din si BPDA. The good thing is, nandun na kami counterpart sa region, pushing for ecozone development. And ecozone development po yun. The last point is ecozone development and maximizing the indicators for the already existing ecozone in the region. Maraming salamat po sa mga.
Thank you so much. There were two things that really struck me. First, the vision. Mahirap kasi na we want to go there but others go there. On the right and on the left. If you want to go there, it should be maximizing everyone's effort to go in that direction. That's very important. And of course, I think Honorable Vice Chancellor is here. I believe she heard about the role, important roles of private sectors in actually actualizing all of these things that we are talking about. Now, I think this is the last question. What is now your commitment? Attorney Abbas is here and the rest of the PESA. What is now your commitment to support PESA in actualizing those visions that we want to achieve? May we start from PESA? Sir.
The commitment of PESA can be like that to a big brother. So whatever good practices that we have, even what makes yung mga bagay na unwritten but works, thinking out of the box, yung mga strategic planning ng mga nakatag na PESA in coming up with where it is now, that we can share, we guarantee that. And in fact, na-mention ko nga kanina sa presentation, may mga immersions na. And then we are also contemplating on that co-management na tinatawag. As long as it is aligned with the laws or what that will be reached, it can be like an MOA or co-management agreement, something to that effect. That would work. Yun ang pwede namin ibigay. In fact, meron lang, hindi naman siya special division, pero kay focal person, ay na-identify na si PESA na for purposes of helping PESA. Makikita kasi ninyo dun sa Bangsamoro Organic Local Land, sa definition pa lang ng creation ng PESA. Similar to that, ang Philippine Economic Zone Authority. So, even if during the crafting of that law, during the technical working groups, no, even though I don't know, I'm not privy to how it was crafted and the collaboration that was made. But nonetheless, since we're one republic, nakasulat yan, that in itself is a guarantee na commitment ni PESA will be there. Especially kung ang tao na ilalagay nila dyan is, of course, kagaling din sa Mindanao at lalo na kung sa Bangsamoro din.
Well, thank you so much. That's an important, sir. It's like a brotherly treatment, the support that you're giving to PESA. Thank you. Maybe here once again for Punta. Any final words like for commitment for the PESA?
Thank you. This is our commitment, not only for PESA, but for the region itself. So, building a better Bangsamoro is also a building Mindanao. So, we are meaning that the Sitbang for Bangsamoro is also ours sa Mindanao. So, on ang susunod level, we will continue to provide a proper video for PESA to promote the ecozone in the capacity of MINDA being the Philippine Community Office for the API. We will commit to do that. On the last point, being a Bangsamoro, the personal level, being a Bangsamoro, I am committed also to promote, to provide, to help the Bangsamoro, the base in particular, in whatever capacity, technical capacity, being a Bangsamoro. So, dalawang level, ako-convince ko yung principal namin to be engaged the PESA and promoting the ecozone development. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. So, the development of PESA is also the development of our as a whole, is also the development of the whole of the Mindanao. Thank you so much. Now, may we hear from Papa. Sir.
Very much. Before my commitment, I'd like to congratulate the PESA for having our biggest and most stakeholder forum. I think OFAR is one of the major partners of the PESA because being in the agriculture sector, as mentioned earlier by the PSA, that we are actually part of the raw material supplier. And that's perhaps one of the best things that we could consolidate, perhaps if we have a functional PESA. We could help the sector of agriculture in marketing, especially on the value adding, because as mentioned, we are tapping the production of in terms of biological material. So our commitment to the PESA is working together as a government for the progress of the Bangsamoro people in Australia.
So much. There is always an integral process, right, as we go along the development. Thank you so much. How about from Medway? What is your commitment in uplifting and leveraging the commitment of PESA for economic zone?
So, as for the member, fully committed naman ang member to help PESA. And we always include them in our efforts. May mga activities kami nakasama namin sila para naiintindihan din nila yung sa akin at kami naiintindihan na namin sila. So that's two-way, multi-way activity. Kung kailangan naiintindihan natin ng isa't isa para malaman natin kung saan tayo pwede magtulong.
The two-way process. Thank you so much. How about from PPDA?
For the PDA, three things. One is to ensure that PESA is always included in all the mechanisms, establishing the bar in terms of its institutional bureaucracy. Kasi PESA or ecozone is sectoral approach. So BPDA, as the Technical Secretariat of the Bangsamoro Economic Development Council, as mandated by the law to spearhead the socio-economic development. To become inclusive, we should include all stakeholders who really have a pivotal role in that development. Second one is to ensure that we can provide technical assistance as part of the BPDA's mandate to provide technical assistance, whether it's through technical studies, feasibility studies, data in terms of trends, what are the prospects, what are the potentials, and providing advantage. And third, we can use the platform of dialogue as part of our coordinating agency. We are also mandated as coordinating agency where all the stakeholders we should coordinate so that we can harmonize and we will not work in silos and fragmented. Because as mentioned a while ago by some of the speakers, kahit sabihin pa natin whatever investment we have, kung kanya-kanya tayo, ginagawa, wala naman tayong collective efforts, how it will be harmonized, and how it will be complemented and interconnected, it will be a waste of all resources. So that is our mandate, and we can ensure it to the BESA, and we can commit these based on our mandates. Technical assistance, the platform and the mechanisms, and the coordinating agencies in the part.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much from the BPDA, and that was a very profound commitment. How about from MPW?
The MPW being the implementing arm of the region, we are always committed to the BESA. And not only for the BESA, because all the projects that we are implementing in the popular areas, in the remote areas, our intention there, the main objective of those laws are for the upliftment of the economic situation of those localities. And of course, the upliftment of the livelihood of the constituent of that community in the popular area. When we construct the road, of course, the development follows. And those roads we have constructed are all leading in support to the economic zone. Kahit ano man yung kagandahan ng logistic within the economic zone, kung wala rin mga kagandahan natin sa road, the projects in the corporate areas of the remote areas can be transformed. So, the MPW is committed to construct more roads in the remote areas. Kahit namin paghihirap natin because we are experiencing too much pressure in the implementing of those road projects in bridges to the mountain area. Because we all know that we are still on the process of transforming those communities to mountain areas to have the mindset for the development. Alam mo naman sa akin sa global, sometimes ibang maayos yung mga natin. But with the aid of with the support of the resources we are implementing, their children have the access to the various services like the schools, the hospital, as well as everything on the organized areas in the area. Nililipat na yung mindset nila. Instead of mindset of holding ugang, mas gusto nila pang-auto na nakaka-masya sila, and when they are visited the urban areas, their mindset have changed from the thinking of just only holding a gun, mas ito pag-control na lang nakakapasal nila. So, the MPW is committed to support any logistics for improperly based.
Very well, thank you so much. And I really like the term mindset. The reason why we're here is because of the mindset. You have fixed and growth mindset. Whatever your mindset is, it's up to you to make the difference to the mindset. Thank you. Now let's go to commitment from the PSA. So, just a very short commitment for the PESA, and the attorney is here. Yes.
Good afternoon, for the part of the PSA, it's not a commitment. It's
some money actually by these statistics needed by various industries, even the public, even the private sector. So to provide, generate and provide these data sets needed for the system and participation. So it's with them for the PSA and our money. So with regards to these data sets, the investors, the creators, if they need data in terms of these studies, then it's available in our
Thank you. Very well, thank you so much. Data is very important. It should be evidence-based mechanism. We cannot start anything without hard justification, and that's the data. Thank you so much, PSA. This time we hear from FIRB, sir.
Siguro for the FIRB Secretary, our commitment is just the continuous collaboration with PEZA. Our collaboration in terms of capacity building, alam naman natin ang PEZA is parang bago pa lang. So we want PEZA's staff and its personnel very knowledgeable on the evaluation of incentives, evaluation of registration of investors, applicants, and all. We also want to have in the future capacity building on projects that FIRB Secretary Page, the digitization of the processes of the registration for tax incentives. And of course, the open dialogue and the open dialogue and invitation to all the children of FIRB Secretary. Nakita namin kasi si Attorney Abbas very active with regard to events ng FIRB Secretariat, and we are always thankful na hindi lang siya pupunta pati working sa events ng FIRB.
Thank you so much. It's a continuous collaboration between FIRB and of course with the president. Thank you so much. This time, maybe you from your question, sir.
Hello, the Bureau project is always committed to BESA. Inshallah, when BESA will operate, the Bureau Pastor really has joint operation agreement also, just like the BESA, for the operation to the BESA economic zone. Now, the commitment of the Bureau Pastor to BESA is the streamlines of procedures. Since economic zone is all the countries to the economic zones are being no tax increases are being paid. The customs are mandated to supervise and manage everything that comes into the economic zone, except if we say domestic, domestic sales. That's where the duties and taxes come. However, for all the procedures with Bureau of Customs, we are committed with BESA. Inshallah, everything will be moving forward for its development and growth.
Inshallah. Actually, there are two things that actually, bringing my ears. First is those projects, something like that, now the access, oh my God. But through the help of the Bureau of Customs, we are going to facilitate the help to facilitate the taxes issue that we are having right now, especially with the collaboration with the Bureau of Customs, of course, with the Belgian. Sir, thank you so much. And now, maybe hear lastly from the SCFA. Sir.
Our commitment to BESA. If only we are neighbors, we are willing to teach you everything. Because unfortunately, we are 1,000 kilometers apart. So there is a great divide in terms of distance. But our commitment to BESA as an investment promotions agency, the SBMA commits to welcome you every time you want to learn from us. If you want to benchmark, come over, we are willing to show you our best practices. We are willing to show you how we operate our ports, how we operate our airport, because we have an airport and how we operate and how we do our regulation. And I think there is a request from BESA that some of their engineers will be coming over to Subic Bay or to Subic Bay Metropolitan Authority and go into apprenticeship. You are most welcome. If you think you want to come over and study every department that we have, that's our commitment. We're willing to do that. We're willing to show you how things are done in Subic. And of course, alam nyo, every time I am asked to face new investors, I always tell them, please invest anywhere. And when we say invest anywhere, it must be in the Philippines. And when it must be in the Philippines, it's your turn to say, it must be in BESA.
Very well, thank you so much. And that is a very kind, generous Attorney Abbas, a kind, generous commitment that they are very willing to welcome all of the prodigies. Okay, welcoming the apprentice to to empower them every nitty-gritty of the technical component of their office. So, wow, thank you so much, sir. Now this time, with our very rich discourse right now, we have two questions coming from our Malaysian friend. We'd like to call in from the chairman. Alright, we have our board member for the 2nd District, Maguindanao del Norte. Board member Honorable Michael Ida would like to ask a question.
Thank you. On behalf of Governor Dr. Thomas Mura.
You have to stay on the center.
Yeah, because of the flashing. Thank you. Yeah, on behalf of Governor Dr. Thomas Mura, as the chairman of BESA Council, Development Council, and the Puyok Freeport Authority, meron lang kami question na dalawa na mahalaga. Una-una, address to the Office of the Chief Minister regarding sa Puyok Freeport. Kung saan po ba ito belong? Sa province of Maguindanao del Norte or sa national or sa farm? Dahil since na-declaration ito under sa autonomous region in Most Maguindanao before, walang clear cut. Second, we are talking about revenue collection. Now, unfortunately, BESA, the Freeport of Puyok, and yung tinatawag natin na Northern Highway, the BIN, Biyakan, ang nagkikilabang lang ay ang Davao. Why? Because Puyok Port is a south port of Davao. This is addressed to the Costol. Now, since the south port, lahat ng revenue na nakukulit na sa Freeport, ninabayan ng Puyok, doon directly nalilinig sa Davao. Paano po yung local government namin? Paano po yung Maguindanao del Norte and the bar? We are being deprived of our share. Maguindanao del Norte is napakabatas pa, bakit pang-probinsya. So, gusto ng committee namin sa sunod yung padalamugan na sana ma-address natin ito dahil ang BESA mapapaganda. Yun lang po at sana mabigyan ng Costco at the Office of the Chief Minister kung ano ang magandang direction natin dito. Para nang sa gano'n, yung mga investor natin, kung buwan allocator sa Freeport, sa BESA, magkaroon ng protection dahil merong batas na sumasaklaw doon sa loob ng Freeport. Maraming salamat po.
Very well, thank you so much. Okay, so we have another question from our friend from Malaysia. He is the chairperson and CEO of Asia Biochem Technologies Incorporated, Harley Louis Lian. Please.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have a question for you that maybe everybody of you can have a high-level answer to this question. Of course, right now, we are coming up with a global countering of products, and for example, abaca, tobacco, and mineral oils. Because our partner in bartering is the Republic of Indonesia. And they want us to participate so that all our PESA, Subic can have a multiplier effect in terms of cargos. Now, like for us, for example, we are working out to come up with a $1 billion barter by next year. And the main line that we are going to barter is mostly mineral. Because right now, in Indonesia, there is what we call as a nickel rush. They are almost consuming almost 300 million tons yearly. Now, question, why so much? Because at the time President Widodo was the President of the Republic of Indonesia, he came up with an executive order and confirmed by the Parliament of Indonesia not to export anymore their mineral oils. So what happened, since number one user of their mineral oils like nickel is China, almost all these Chinese smelting plant transferred to Indonesia and Morowali. So we will see. But the problem now is, if that will go on like that, in the next 20 years, Indonesia will be depleted of this mineral nickel. They are actually using saprolite nickel and laterite nickel. Now, I was able to talk to the Minister of Trade and Industry, Santoso, that maybe we can be of help to them by way of bringing our nickel down in the area through bartering. Now, we have to bring down the nickel to the area because they have almost 50 smelting plants. And the barter product now will be coal. These are being used for our generation. Right now, according to the Department of Energy, we are using almost 42 billion tons of coal yearly. But if you compute the actual consumption, because in every megawatt of coal-fired plant, to produce 1 megawatt a year, you need almost 6,000 tons of coal. So in other words, literally, if you multiply that with 65% of coal blended power generation, that's almost 100 million tons should be. But according to statistics of the importation, it's only 42 million. But anyway, what I'm saying here is maybe ESA or ESA can help us in coming up with a coal blending facility here. Because our counterpart in Indonesia is telling us to put up a coal blending facility so that in accordance to the presidential decree of Marcos at the time, during this martial years, only 10% of coal deposited from the Philippines should be blended with imported coal. But it is not being happening in here. Almost 100% is being used. That's what I think ESA should be paying for a particular petroleum and also help us in turning this out into more, it will materialize by way of a government to government or a partner to partner. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to ask once again, we would love to clarify about the barter process. Is that what you mean, sir?
Yeah, barter.
The barter process. How will PESA facilitate the barter process?
Okay. Actually, this will also involve the LCU. What we are looking at now, maybe if we particularly do the Virgin Tobago. Because the Virgin Tobago, in Indonesia, it is almost selling at 200 pesos a kilo. But in the Philippines, at most 90 pesos a kilo. If we barter that, that is a multiplying effect in that. So the farmers now will not be relying on, they have to have a indebtedness of so much. In other words, if the production per hectare of the Virgin Tobago can be at 3,000 kilos, you multiply that with 400, that's almost 1.2 million pesos. In which case, that would help really down the line in making this economically stable.
Alright, Mario, thank you so much. So, thank you. We will try to address all of those questions. Let's start first with the question of board member. Which do you prefer? The question from our election friend? Or you're going to start with, okay, let's start with the issue from the Maguindanao del Norte board member, where he emphasized about the revenue generation. We have this big Iaga, the entry point is actually in that segment. It's according to PM, it's actually like Davao is the one who actually has or experienced the revenue. So what can you say about that? We'd love to answer from your question. Yes.
Okay, with regards to questions of the Honorable Board member, yes, the port of Parana is the south port of collection district. Which is Port of Davao. Now what the Bureau of Customs are collecting revenues are those paid due to importation. We don't have any lot of taxes that go to the local government. So any revenues that are collected from importations are limited to the national government. So that is why even if it is through the Port of Parana, the collection district that goes directly to the national government.
Is there a chance that there will be district collector in the park?
Well, the authority to create a district office is with the commission. So the approval goes up to the national office.
So it lies on the commissioner. Okay, so later maybe a board member and we can actually have a discussion with the Bureau of Customs on how are we going to facilitate that. Do you have any other PEZA? Is there any additional answer to that on that particular issue? Maguindanao del Norte, that is, we have already this PEZA in the park, but still Davao is the one, experiencing and enjoying the revenue. It's not the bar. What can you say about that?
Because in terms of collection of customs duties and value-added tax, it's a national tax. And the primary and exclusive jurisdiction has to be collection and assessment of those national taxes under the Customs Modernization Tariff Act belongs to the Bureau of Customs. So probably what's this? There should be no issue with the national tax. Probably, ang pwede pa siguro ma-raise ng province is yung share doon sa local taxes and fees na nag-generate out of the economic activity doon sa Freeport. So, of course, nandiyan yung local government code. And then, if kung sino yung host, usually, down to the smallest organization ng province goes to the municipality of the city. So it's usually sa framework ng PEZA in terms of taxes, dun sa 5% na special corporate income tax and yung dating tax regime, yung 2% is napupunta yung municipality, yung host municipality, hindi dun sa province. So, hindi pa rin yung napupunta sa national government. So, the question may be, sino sa, yung isang na-pick up ko din sa question is, considering it was devolved to MARM before, should it be MARM that should be collecting that through the municipality? Or would it be the Maguindanao del Norte? Yung So, the delineation would be best answered by BESA for that.
Would you like to answer that, Authority? Abbas? The question of, I think it talks about the authority when it comes to the revenue generation, like there is what we call bar present here, but we have this what we call IAGA, but it seems that the board member is actually looking at the side that is the one enjoying actually the revenue generation, or in fact, it should be Maguindanao del Norte and Barangay as a whole will facilitate that stuff. So, any reaction to that, Attorney?
Good afternoon once again. In the creation of an economic zone, we have three ways by which we can create an economic zone. One is private initiative, second is LGU initiative, and third is bar initiative, or region-wide initiative. On the part of the report economic zone, it was created by the regional government, by then armed under Muslim Mindanao Autonomy Act 154, which establishes, proclaimed the whole of Barangay Tulio as an economic zone, and Pulic Report as a nucleus of that economic zone. So, on the basis of that creation, it appears that under the law, it is under the region bar, because it is not the master plan. It's not a LGU initiative. But of course, if you look at the sharing of taxes as explained by Attorney Allen here, there is a 2% for the NGO, whether it is for the municipality or for the province, or the municipality. So, in as much as Pulic Report Economic Zone is located in Parang, then Parang has to share a 2% of that tax being generated by the Pulic Report. So there is no question that it is a regional government zone. Now, what's the participation of all of these? Province and the municipality. If you look at the PAA 13, it says there that any developmental initiatives in the ecozone should be collaborated with the local government. And in fact, in the composition of the Ecozone Advisory Council, the governor of the province where the ecozone is located sits as the chairman of the Ecozone Advisory Council. And since Olio report the ecozone is in Parang, the governor of the provincial government of Maguindanao is the chairman. And Parang is one of the members, along with the executive director of the BESA and 2 representatives from the organizations of locators and investors inside that. So these are the collaborators. There is no question to say regional economic.
Very well, thank you so much, Attorney. I think, sir, we only have one question left later, and what I propose to Sir Brenda.
Just to add, this issue is with regard to tax revenue, tax collection sa report. So, just to add to sa sinabi ni Attorney ng PESA, but special corporate income tax, yun ang sinasabi ng 5%. And from that 5%, 20% of which pinupunta sa national, o 2% yung pinupunta sa local. Yun ay applicable for business enterprises na under the special corporate income tax. So if there are registered business enterprises na hindi siya special corporate income tax, let's say income tax incentive, income tax holiday, or the tax deduction regime, wala siya yung 5% na gano'n, wala yung 3%, 2% na hatian lang national and local. So what the local government unit can do is, yun nga, na pinapakita rin sa presentation ni Atty. kanina, is they can impose an RBA local tax, which is the 2% on the gross income of the RBA. So ito lang mag-collect kung sino yung LGU na may cover na long free for growth. So wala nang issue with regard to sa Pocha or weak Pocha. So maybe they can also take a look at the new market in the future. Anyways, on the part of the Secretary, maglalabas ka rin po kami ng isang issuance regarding implementation or imposition of local taxes or RBE local tax. Sana this year na-resolution natin.
Well, thank you so much, sir. And I think we will end to the last I think Linda will answer about the barter that is actually raised by our friend from Malaysia. And I think, sir, you are going to extrapolate or expound it later during your talk. But let's hear from Linda, sir.
Thank you again. Two things now, the barter trade and the trading in the SDI. For barter trade, I think there's already established that Council for Barter Trade Council for specific trading for within the Bangsamoro. So they are authority in supervising or regulating the barter trading in the bar. So in the bar, the Barter Trade Council. On the idea of having barter trade in the Indiana at a larger scale, maybe the only thing I can answer today is we will try to discuss that at the level of our principal, because yung specific regulation for barter trading may batas na nakakalayo. And the Mindanao Barter Trade Council, EO 64, if I'm not mistaken, was napalitan yun ng issuance ng pagkakasama ng Bangsamoro admin ko, in particular ng Barter Trade Council ng UN. So nawala na sa amin yung bola ngayon, relative to the barter trading. So that's why the earlier part, medyo active si Minda in dealing with the barter trading. With the Bangsamoro Barter Trade Council play, because of the new law, nasa sideline na si Minda. So basically, we will try to discuss that, sir, within how we can collaborate within the preface of the law. Thank you.
Yes.
Actually, we can tap the services of the Consul General in Davao, in the Indonesian Embassy there. You can talk to them directly about the bartering, because they're given the instruction that all state-owned companies in Indonesia should participate in the barter to expand the market of their state-owned companies in Indonesia.
Very well, thank you so much, sir. So, alapakan po natin, can we give a massive round of applause to our panel discussant. With that, we'd like to request Attorney Abbas. Attorney Abbas, if you please come up on stage for our photo opportunity with our panel discussants. Palapakan natin sila. We're very happy for the very rich discourse about empowering not only BESA but the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Mindanao as a whole, sir. Would you mind to join? Please stand for our photo opportunity.